I'm going to introduce Andrea Haynes in just a moment. And so this is our presentation on Zero Point Meridian, an evidence-based energy healing opportunity. Okay, so let me tell you about Andrea. She is one of our facilitators. She offers the 6-session frequency journey, which we're going to tell you more about. She's completed a full year of the Academy with Health, Healing, and Wholeness and is certified as a Zero Point Meridian practitioner. She also co-owns Empower Potential Coaching with her husband, Richard Haynes, this year. And I think, did you already get your 25 years? Are you moving on to 26 now in 2026?
Yep, we're on year 26 this year.
There you go. Moving into 26 years of marriage and 5 children. No more children to come, right?
Just waiting for grandchildren now.
And I remember when she finished her 18 years of homeschooling, it was about a year ago, right? Year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And that's what opened up this opportunity for more. So she's actually been a massage therapist for 20 years and not only trained in massage, but also energy medicine, sound therapy, EMDR, which we're going to mention today, as well as Zero Point Meridian. But her greatest joy is motherhood and the Chosen series and her favorite pizza, honey almond chicken on gluten-free crust. That sounds so good. I should have grabbed that. I don't know if we made it all the way to Lethbridge though. I was actually up in her territory in Cardston, Canada last summer, and we almost got together, but it didn't quite line up with the family reunion and everything going on. But they have come down here and we've gone to a hockey game together, and I loved having Richard and Andrea at the trainings last year when we did them in person, and Tamara was part of that.
Yeah, it was so great.
So great. I think you guys did do deep emotion release, right?
We did actually. Yep, Tamara's amazing.
Good stuff. All right. Okay, so now, I'm going to let Andrea read mine. Are you good with that?
Okay.
Okay.
I have to warn you guys, I don't wear reading glasses yet, but I should. I can read this.
Okay.
Okay, so Cristine, this is Cristine Hull, PhD. She is an integrative mental health expert and founder of Health, Healing, and Wholeness, LLC. She certifies practitioners in Zero Point Meridian, like myself. Researches the impact of holistic practices and is the author of several publications and manuals featuring her Love Solve method, quantum wholeness meditation, and Zero Point Meridian. She has fulfilled 3 previous careers. Yeah, she is a very busy lady and she's constantly learning. This is one thing I love about Cristine, is she is a life learner for sure. So as a substance abuse counselor, a school psychologist, and a private practitioner. Her master is in psychology combined with her doctorate in natural medicine from Quantum University have positioned her for a unique role in the mental health field. She and her husband, Todd Hull, are establishing, they're spreading hope. Okay, this is getting tricky with my not wearing glasses. 501c3. I got it. Right? With the goal of elevating frequencies of those in recovery and dealing with mental health challenges in Utah and beyond. Yes.
Thank you.
Christine. Beautiful work.
All right. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the steps to a higher frequency life. We're going to talk about the evidence-based tool to support emotional resilience. And we're going to walk you through the whole package, which is Frequency School, Zero Point Meridian, and frequency formulas together. Okay, so let's just start with this map of consciousness. Who's familiar with Dr. Hawkins' Power versus Force, map of consciousness? Yes. So I discovered this in 2005, and it was life-changing for me. It was one of the things I learned. One of my strongest learning experiences was when I was teaching in a jail. So I was working with inmates from the prison who were housed in the Brigham City jail. And so I would have a year with them because they were there for at least a year. And I was trying to figure out the solutions for this unique population. And one of the things that came to me was understanding the frequency model. So I took several concepts together, and they kind of evolved over the years, but I actually didn't even know that there was a quantification for what's coming to me until I'd already developed kind of this model of frequencies. So if you look at the chart, you've got low frequencies under 100, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. And you've got some of the higher frequencies above that. Neutrality is actually 200. We're missing that on there. Hope and acceptance in the 300s. And then you move into like the really good stuff at 400 and above. And what I did is I took that concept and I broke it down into these 5 life areas. So if you look at the 5 life areas, it's really interesting how similar they are to the 4 bodies, right? So our physical frequency or area of life, and that's our health and well-being there. Psychologically, mental health. Socially, relationships is a unique one. Spiritually, also important to look at, and our financial well-being. So that's kind of a unique one there. Okay. But like knowing and think about that, because you could have a really high frequency. As we go on to this next chart, you're going to see the example I use of a rock climber. So you can be at different frequency levels in each area. So you may have a really high frequency spiritually. Like a lot of people in our classes that are drawn to Tamara and I, and in the Andrea world, are very spiritually inclined. And so that's their strength. That's like their top hand. And then psychologically, maybe would be your second. Physical might be your third highest. And as they go down, you might be in the 200s financially or in your relationships. And so this is kind of the world I was in, myself with if you look at your lowest common denominator, that's your foothold. So think about this. What would have to happen for this rock climber to move higher? Is it her top hand? Anybody put it in the chart or in the chat? I mean, what has to happen for the rock climber to move up? And this is holistic movement. So you can't just improve on one area and leave everything else, right? Do we have some answers?
You've got go to move the bottom foot.
Bottom foot. To move the bottom foot. Yeah, the relationship one. There you go.
His feet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you're in a really unhealthy relationship, it's going to be hard to shift these other areas until that improves a little bit. Does that make sense? Or if financially, that's your bottom foot. I actually did a training with someone last summer who says if you can raise your financial frequency, everything else will go up because you've got the resources to hire a coach or to get the bioscalar machine or to access these things that are available that might be less available if you don't have the resources for them, right? So that's just important to look at and as we continue, you get to look at what is your lowest common denominator in your life currently. So I'm going to share in the next slide this example, and it's going to be a lot. You're not going to want to try to cover all of this, but I'm just going to read through the 100 and 200 areas for each area. And I want you to think about if those relate to you. So if you're in a 100 physical health, you're disease ridden, incapacitated, like you probably may not leave your home much. Okay. You might be immobile or you might be, showing up for dialysis, several times a week or whatever. So at a 200, you're dependent on medication or substances. So that's where you're kind of just treading water or, keeping your head above water. And if that thing isn't available, you're at risk of decline. Emotionally, being stuck in those dense emotions we mentioned, the shame, fear, apathy, depression. And then at a 200, you fluctuate a little bit. With anger is what's interesting is anger is kind of the higher of the negative emotions. So anger is kind of a catalyst. So anger might be trying to pull you up, but then you feel guilty because you got angry, right? Does anybody relate to that? That's a good one. Spiritual, a low frequency is just feeling trapped or antagonistic, like rebelling against light and positive options. And then 200 is where you're shifting from being more dark to more light. But it's like that transition is happening. And an occupational low frequency, we're looking at poverty, homelessness, or institutionalized, where you really don't have your own resources. At 200, you might be unemployed or dependent on systems. Like you've got something, but you're not empowered yet. A social relational would be like isolation, no support system, alone. At a 200, there's this codependency, dependency, you've got trust issues. So you can kind of look, and the 300s might be what more of you are related to. That's where, you're just kind of in that average mode. Average well-being, your diet really could use some help. You're kind of more positive than negative, but it's a challenge. So all those things, you're paycheck to paycheck financially, you're focused on security, there's still some fear. And then socially functional relationships, but it's just kind of like mechanical, So there's just a lot of different areas to look at there. There is an assessment I'll mention later, but just consider like which area for you is your lowest common denominator, because we're going to use that later. All right. Let's talk about how resilience is progressive. So I was working with my team, and we were trying to figure out what's the definition of resilience. And I would love it if you want to put something in the chat with that. Like, how do you define resilience? Okay. So what I realized is the resilience I'm looking at is a higher frequency resilience. So if you look at the model of progression, when we're talking about some of those really low frequency things, it's like the seed is trying to just get out of the ground. So as I talk about, like just coming up for air, that's where the initial resilience is what allows you to get past the 200 frequency. Okay. The 300 frequency would be like that tree that it's alive, it's got leaves, but how strong is it? When the wind comes along, is it going to make it? Right? So is that tree going to become a full adult tree, or is it going to make it through those trials of wind and storm? Okay, so that's like a 300 frequency. So what I'm actually looking at is more like a 400, 500 frequency resilience. So at a 400, 500 frequency resilience, it's like you have done the work. You're in the 400, it's kind of like a roller coaster. It's like the seasons. Okay, can you make it through each of those seasons? And are you going to get your leaves back? Are you going to get through that winter? And I think even moving into that next level, you see the blossoms. So what I saw is like the resilience for me right now in my life is I've blossomed, but do I have fruit? So that's another level of resilience is, are you to that point? You're so close. And this is where I think a lot of people get caught, is that you're so close. You're like, okay, I'm a full grown tree. I've got blossoms. What else is there? Or where's the reward? The reward is the fruit. And if we're just so close, but we don't quite have the fruit, you can feel like, what's the point? Why have I worked this hard for this long? Why am I still not quite where I was hoping I'd be, right? And so that's another level of resilience is, are you going to get to the fruit and spread? And that's like, we use that an analogy later we'll talk about with spreading hope. Because once you get the fruit, then you can inspire others on the journey and say, yes, it is possible. Some people have heard of an analogy with the iron rod that goes to the tree of life. And if you've heard of this analogy, it's out of the Book of Mormon. There's those who are standing at that tree of life and holding that precious fruit and saying, yes, this is real. Just stick it out. And so resilience is you stick to the rod and you get to the tree. That is really what it's all about. Okay. So there's some amazing stories of that. Those are miracles in some people's lives, right? So what threatens your resilience? So if you look at it, is it emotional? Is it your lowest common denominator? Is it your health? Is it your finances? And that's the thing that's like you're waiting for the reward, because it's almost like you've got 5 trees that are all trying to blossom and bear fruit. So you can have like a really deluxe fruit salad. Right? You got the apples and the pears and, maybe even some oranges, you can be multi-climatic or, climate arenas. So that's the trick, is getting to that reward in all those areas and not being, stymied by the one that's not there yet. So we're going to talk about reversals, and this is where I'm going to let Andrea take over. So are you in a reversal, which is like every time you get so close, like you've got the blossoms, but you never quite get the fruit? I mean, there's a freeze, or there's a wind comes along and blows them all away, or whatever it is. Does your challenge keep coming back? Is there something wearing you down? Like you're just burning out. And would you like a tool that will build your resilience that you can do on your own, and it takes less than 5 minutes? Raise your hand if you would like that. Yes. Okay. So here we go. So I don't know, Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about psychological reversal? What that is?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. I actually had a personal experience about this psychological reversal this morning that I'm going to share about. So basically, psychological reversal is when we get stuck in these subconscious loops, and they're almost always negative beliefs or negative loops that we get stuck in. And what we want to be able to do is to reverse those. And so we get these neural pathways that we have, like an emotion that gets triggered by something that happens, and then we have a thought, and then we just have this pathway that gets run over and over and over and over again in our bodies. And then it's like our body kind of gets stuck in that. Our minds and our bodies are together and get stuck in that path. And so this tool that we want to show you actually helps to loosen up those pathways that we have been put in place over repetition, these subconscious negative belief loops that we run, to loosen up those pathways to get to a place where we're in a neutral space. And then what we can do is to create new neural pathways, which is incredible. So let me share this experience that happened this morning, exactly talking about this subconscious negative loop. So I don't love doing presentations. And so this was getting closer and closer. And this morning I was going over stuff, getting ready. And I started thinking, oh, I don't like doing these, but preparing. And so what started to happen, and I was feeling stressed, and stress is a trigger for me, where if I feel stressed for too long, my body over the years says, my body will try to do a migraine. So I was feeling the stress of getting ready for this presentation, and I started to get an ear pain, which is one of the places where I start to feel a migraine, is in my ear. And I recognized that right away. And I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. My body is basically trying to protect me, to get me out of this, so I don't have to do a presentation. If I get a migraine, you don't have to do the presentation. You can just call Cristine and say, I have a migraine. I can't do this today. So my body was trying to create a way out for me. It was trying to help me escape. It was trying to help me to protect myself and not have to do this. But I recognized it. And I had this little talk with my body this morning. And it was so beautiful, actually. I had a conversation with my body. And this is something that I'm going to teach you guys about an alignment statement. And when we do the alignment statement, we talk about, basically we create a statement saying, even though this happens, so we could talk about this migraine, even though my body tries to go into a migraine to help me to try to protect me, I love and accept myself completely with infinite love and gratitude. Okay, I'm showing you guys what we're going to be doing, okay, in advance. So I started talking to myself and saying, to my body. I was holding my body and I told my body, listen, I understand what you're doing here. And instead of getting angry at myself, I just said, I know that you love me. Talking to my body, I know that you love me. I know that you're doing this because you want to try to protect me and you care for me. I said, we don't have to do this anymore. There's a better way for us now. One of the things that I've been working on and learning and just doing the work with Cristine and through the years is that my body has done migraines for years because it was a way for my body to bypass trusting God, because the migraines came because of sexual abuse that happened years ago when I was younger. And so what I've been trying to learn is to accept the rest that God offers me. And the migraines were a bypass of like, look, you don't have to trust God. You can't depend on him anymore. So we're going to do this migraine thing, and this is going to help to shut you down when you need to rest and be protected. Okay. So recognizing this, I had a conversation with my body today, and I started tapping and just talking to myself and saying, it's okay. We are gonna work through this, and it's time for us to let this go. So doing the tapping and talking to God and talking to my body and saying, it's time for us to let this pattern go, because we can trust God and we can accept the rest that he offers, and we don't have to do this anymore. And I want us to be united and to stop fighting against each other. We need to let this pattern go and move forward. It was actually really beautiful. So
thank you for sharing that. That is very vulnerable of you. It says a lot about your work that you've done. That's amazing.
You are welcome. But it just was so applicable this morning. I'm like, I'm teaching this, and this is exactly what's happening
That's exactly
to me right now. And I can share this as like, this is an example of what can happen. These loops that we go into. Okay, so this whole summit, these last few days have been about building resilience. And so what we want to do, I could get some suggestions from anybody who'd like to give suggestions. Like, we want to build resistance. And so, but when you build your alignment statement, what we want to basically do is identify the problem and get really specific when we identify the problem. So if we chose today that we want to build resilience, and the problem is that like when we get close to something working, then it falls apart or we feel stuck. Like, what would be the opposite of resilience? Yeah. So what are some examples? If you guys, you can take yourselves off the chat and give me some examples, or take yourselves off the audio cutoff and just give me some suggestions, or you can put it in the chat. So things like just feeling defeated.
It could be, even though I keep getting in the way of my breakthrough, or
that's great.
Even though I keep losing the reward or missing the reward.
Yeah. Or getting to the place where you like sabotage yourself.
And so, sabotage.
Right? Like things are going good and you're like, this looks like this is working, it's working, and then you sabotage yourself somehow, right?
Or giving up too soon. That could be like,
or giving up too soon.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What would be a pattern that you notice with yourself when you feel like you're on the right track and then you start to fall off, or things happen, you feel defeated, get stuck, or you beat yourself up, or you sabotage yourself? Any ideas out there?
I start doing stuff for other people rather than myself, trying to focus on other people's stuff instead of my own, and then it gets in the way of mine.
That's a great awareness that you've noticed about yourself. Okay, so it's almost like a distraction, or taking the focus away, taking the focus off of.
I would word it, even though I caretake, as an avoidance.
Ooh, I like that. Does that resonate, Callie? Even though I caretake as an avoidance, I like that. So rather than focusing on your own stuff, it's like, no, this is too painful, or this is whatever. I'm going to focus on something else as a distraction.
That's a really common one.
I like that. That's really good. Okay, I'm just going to write that down. Okay, so we'll use that for today. So basically, when you use this tool, you just want to get as specific as possible, because the more specific you are, the better the results are going to be. So just really try to narrow it in as to exactly what it is, like a target. Okay. But I think this is a great one. Callie, you like the wording of this? Okay. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to share the tool with you guys. I'm going to show you guys the first part, and then I'll show you, and we can, I'll demonstrate it first, and then I'll have you do it with me. And then there's another part, so I'll demonstrate that, and then you guys can do it with me. Does that sound good? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how this, you saw it a little bit before. So we use one side of our hand and we tap with the other side. I don't remember what this meridian pointed, but this is a meridian.
The small intestine meridian.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Christine. So we tap the small meridian point. And so we're going to say, even though I caretake as an avoidance, I love and accept myself completely with infinite love and gratitude. I release and forgive. And then I also add, sometimes if people want to, I am forgiven, or I release this to Christ. Okay.
That one's really good with the caretaking. Yeah.
Actually, that would be really good. So I'm going to put that in when we do it the next time. And if you want to say it, you can. If you don't want to say it, that's totally fine too. Okay. One thing that I just want to share that's really important is, when you are saying these words, I love and accept myself completely with infinite love and gratitude. So these words might seem like a stretch for you, and that's okay. What I suggest is that even to try not to just say the words, but to feel the words. And even if it's only a desire that you want to love and accept yourself, then make it a desire. Like Tamara said, the intention is really, really important. And if we're just saying the words and we don't mean the words, the power that could be there is not going to be there. So even if you have the desire, and I'm going to share another personal experience about this, is I have been on a weight loss journey this past year. I've dropped 28 pounds this past year. And one of the things that I've learned to do, and I think the reason why I've been able to take off the weight, is that I needed to get to a place where I loved myself and loved my body exactly the way that it was. And the weight wasn't coming off until I came to that place. And so I've been doing this exercise at night where I go to bed and I lay in bed. And Tamara talked about this today too, and I thought it was so beautiful about when we did the eye work, and the words that she said about being a newborn baby. When you look in your eye. So when I lay in bed at night and I put my hands, I have had a lot of belly fat. I'm 51, so that menopause weight has been coming on, like 10 pounds a year. So I put my hands on this belly fat, and I imagine that my belly fat, when I sit down, actually, I had two big rolls. So I imagine that my two big rolls were twins, beautiful infant baby twins. And whenever I touched my fat, I wouldn't shudder, because I was actually shuddering in the past. I would just imagine that these were two beautiful newborn babies. And if I was touching two beautiful newborn babies, I wouldn't be shuddering. I would be absolutely loving them. So when I lay in bed, I put my hands on my fat on my belly, and I imagine that it's my newborn babies, and I love it. And I feel, and I talk to my belly fat and just tell my body how much I love it, and just the way that it is. And I feel that love. And I tell you, even I calorie count too, but sometimes my calorie count is off and I will still drop the weight. And I really, truly believe that it's because I am loving my body exactly the way that it is. So it is powerful, that loving. So even if those words sound like a stretch, even just have the desire to want to love and accept yourself completely. There is real, true power in that. So that's my testimony of those words, and when you say those words. Okay, so Do you guys want to do it together? We'll do it. And so when you say those words, I want you to just try to feel yourself, or even having the desire to love and accept yourself completely with infinite love. Okay? So repeat after me. Even though I caretake as and avoidance. You can say it on your own. I love and accept myself completely. With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive. Wow, I'm getting a little bit emotional about this. I am forgiven and I give it to Christ. Okay? All right, that's the first part. Oh, we got a yawn going. That's good. That's releasing and resting going on. Okay. So now there's the second part. So after we do that, what we do is we clasp our hands together. And then we're going to take our hands, and you don't have to stand up to do this. I'm just going to stand up to show you, but you put it in your solar plexus, and you're going to take a deep breath in. So you don't have to do it yet, but if you want to, you can. Take a deep breath in. And then you're going to breathe it all out to get to the very, very end until there's no air left in your lungs. So okay, that's what it should look like. Now, I just want to explain, when you are doing the breathing out and going down, what you want to achieve is letting go of all of the air that's in your lungs, all of it, until you get to a place where there's nothing left. And this is the place that we call the 0 point, or the neutral. So it's after all the air has gone out and before you breathe in again, you're at a place of 0. You're at a place of neutral. And this is the space right here where there's nothing, and it's a space where creation can begin, right there. That's where we're going, okay? So why don't we do the whole thing together now? And I think we'll do it 3 times, because that's what we normally do in a session, is 3 times. So we're gonna do the statement with the tapping, hold, and then do the breathing. I'll stand up to do it. You guys don't have to stand up to do it. You can just do it in your chair, okay? 3 times, here we go. So even though I caretake as an avoidance, I love and accept myself completely with infinite love and gratitude. I release and forgive. And then you can say, I am forgiven and I give it to Christ. Okay? And then clasp, solar plexus, deep breath in, breathe it all out. Okay, we're going to do that 2 more times. I didn't ask anybody this time, but the next time we do this, what I want you to do is, when you get to that neutral 0 place, I want you to just stay there for just a little bit and just pay attention. See if there's anything that you notice, and even see if you notice a difference from this first time that we did it to this second time that we did it. Okay, so now we're going
to insert what came to me, because I think it might help those who want to shift some other energy with this. Sure, I felt so much anger. And I think what it is like, even though I'm so angry about all the demands on me, think about how that affects your resilience. When it feels like your kids need something, your husband needs something, you've got a church calling and a job, you know, look at how that affects resilience, right? So that might be another, if we want to do that one, that might reach people that can relate to that.
Sure. Do we want, we could do that. Do you want to do that as this statement?
As the next, as a second alignment.
For the second time? Okay, so.
Yeah, even though I'm so angry about all the demands on me. And I picture that tree. Like, there's wind and there's storms and there's cold in there. You know? So
let's change the alignment to, so even though I'm so angry at all the demands on me.
Which is part of the reason we caretake too. Like, well, I'll just take care of everybody else, right? Everybody relate to that.
And that's I mean, not all of us are women here, but a lot of us are women here, and that's a big thing, right?
Big.
A lot of us will put everyone else first, and we get the leftovers. And for
Yeah.
us as women, we need to learn how to be with God, fill up our cups so that we have that space to then serve other people rather than the way that we have been doing it, taking care of everybody else. And then if there's anything left over, then we'll give
It's the
ourselves.
martyrdom. That's what it
Yeah.
is. That's one of my
Yeah.
issues
And we
as a
need to,
caretaker.
yeah, we need to let that go as women and
Yeah.
fill our cups. Okay, so let's do this second alignment statement, okay? So just repeat after me. Even though I am so angry at all the demands on me, I love and accept myself completely with infinite love and gratitude. I release and forgive. I am forgiven, and I give it to Christ. Okay, clasp hands, solar plexus, take a deep breath in, breathe it all out. Hey, any awarenesses that anybody wants to share with that second one?
I was able to stay at that like 0 point for longer.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's a great awareness. Good job, Kelly.
Yes. That is the goal. That is part of what this is called Zero Point Meridian. You get it. Very good.
Good job. Anybody else have any awarenesses they want to share?
Oh, Tamara's nose started to run. Oh, that's like a release. Yeah.
I've noticed she's yawned a few times. I've seen her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's shifting.
So I did
Okay.
have another aha, and it
Yeah,
was
sure.
for me when you said, um, I give it to Christ, I
Mhm.
recognize the part of me that wavers in faith.
Mm.
And I think about the tree again, right? Do I
Mm.
really? And so I think a alignment statement of even though my faith wavers
Okay.
or
So that
resilience wavers,
Yeah,
right?
so that brings a good point, Christine. So sometimes when we're doing this work, we may start out with an initial statement, but as we do it, other things come up, maybe that are buried, like they're deeper. And so as we do this work and get to that neutral place, then other stuff might come up and you realize, oh, I see what's here. And then you shift your alignment statement so that it's even more clear. And that's totally fine to start with an initial alignment statement and then shift
And just,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, and just because now you have more clarity on what this is really about. So you don't have to stick to the initial statement, you can shift it. Okay? So Christine, we can go there realizing um that
my
awareness. You can
faith
put that awareness
wavers.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so say
Or
that again.
resilience wavers for those who are focusing on
So
that.
even though
You could say both. My faith and resilience wavers.
my faith and resilience waivers. Okay, so let's do that one this time. Okay, so here's our third time. Here we go. So even though my faith and resilience wavers, I love and accept myself completely with infinite love and gratitude. I release and forgive. Then I am forgiven and I give it to Christ. Okay, clasp hands, solar plexus, take a deep breath in, breathe it all out.
Wow. that reached something. Thank you so much, Andrea, because that reached something for me that is a whole new level of releasing ego. I think that has been my core problem is what I realized is I think I have to have all the faith. Like if I don't have the faith, then I can't be healed or I can't be shifted, you know? And that was the first time I think I've realized I can surrender that responsibility to a higher source.
That's really cool.
It
So
was huge.
that is actually massive because I think a lot
It's
of us think
massive.
we have to have the faith, but then we lack the faith. But then we could turn to God and just say, this is my offering. Can you take care of the rest? That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Isn't that the blind man or
Yeah.
someone came
Help
to
thou
Christ?
unbelief.
Help
Help
thou
thou
my unbelief. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I have chills. Thank you so much.
Make sure to record that.
Okay.
Okay, anybody
Yes.
else? Anybody else have any
Yeah,
awareness?
any other comments? We have Callie's like, faith is not linear. That's powerful. It's quantum, probably, right? It's
Oh,
multi-layered
that
and
is beautiful,
that
Callie.
is
I
really good.
love that. Yeah,
We had Linda experience some relief. Yeah.
awesome.
Let's keep chugging along and then please put things in the chat. We'd love to know more about your experience and what you found in that, because that is basically just part one of the full process of Zero Point Meridian. So we didn't even get to the tapping points. But now I want to share with you more about what this technique is. So it has transformed the emotional states of hundreds of clients in the past 5 years. It is like EMDR on steroids. So if you take the 4 bodies, 4 medicines, and you've looked at it, there is a chapter in there when it talks about the vital body where we talk more about Zero Point Meridian and give some research on it. And this is where what makes this unique is it is in the evidence-based world. This is what we're hoping to expand on. So this is a study that I conducted for my doctorate. Like it wasn't, and it was just part of that process when I was trying to make sense of the quantum research I wanted to do. So I started with a baseline of EMDR clients. So I had a therapist who took pre and post ratings from all of her clients for, it was like over 50 clients. And pre-session, these clients had a 29.7 on the CIS form. So the CIS form is a conscious intervention scale that's developed as a measurement of holistic well-being. So it looks at things like how is your body in that moment? How is your emotions in that moment? Where's your spirit? How connected do you feel? Like all these positive signs of resilience, really. And so a 50 is the highest score you can get on it. A 10 is the lowest you can get on it. So these clients had between a 16 and a 43. So that's quite a range when they came into their session. And then they had an EMDR session and came out with a 35. So they had a 29.7 and then went up to 35. So it went up about 6 points. And so it was almost a full standard deviation. So you can kind of see that little jump in a session. So that's top-notch therapy, seasoned therapist, like the best, primo therapy you can get kind of thing. And so that's good. Therapy does something is kind of what that says. Now, I trained dozens of Zero Point Meridian practitioners and had them use the same scale in their sessions. And these are early sessions with people. And at first I'm like, not sure what are, these, as they're doing their intern or their practicum, and they're gathering their client practice sessions, are they going to find people that are already just great to begin with, or are they, what's that going to look like? So this is what's interesting, is that what that looked like is pre-session, they were at a 28. So if you remember, the other ones were at a 20, almost a 30. So they were lower to begin with. And this is 80 clients over several practicum, training sessions and different practitioners. Following the session, the client average was 42.6. So the change is more than a 14-point improvement, 2 standard deviations above baseline. Isn't that wild? So this has been duplicated across over 200 clients and dozens of practitioners. This is so consistent. And I'm like ready to publish, but it's just kind of a process of like publishing is not easy in scientific journals kind of thing. So I'll tell you more about that in our next session of like what that looks like. But what we want to do is make it available. So these ZPM sessions are available. Andrea's offering the 6-session frequency journey. So it also includes the Love Self method, which is something that over 1,000 clients used to support their emotional breakthroughs and raise their emotional intelligence. So that's taking these concepts of emotion that are low frequency and doing the work to move through it so you're not getting stuck in the lower emotions. And that's not all. So we're also offering pre and post full premium assessment, which helps you as a client see exactly where you're at to begin with and exactly where you're at the end of the 6 sessions. And this can go over a 6-week period, or you can spread it out a little bit more. But this is one example. So this is our client Autumn. So she went through our training in October. It was a 6-week, you can see October 17th to November 29th. And she worked with Andrea and did the 6 sessions and the full program. And so she started at an 87 on her mindfulness and self-compassion. So that's one of the scales we use. So this actually comes from formal scales that have been released: satisfaction with life, cognitive and effective mindfulness, and the self-compassion short form. And so that's from Kristen Neff. Some of you might be familiar with Kristen Neff. She's known in the self-compassion field. And so as a result of this 6 sessions, look at how much that changes. And that's the thing we've noticed more than anything else, is that mindfulness and self-compassion and satisfaction with life really shift in this short period of time, 6 weeks. That's huge, like above excellent. And then if we just look at life satisfaction from a 7 areas, we see that it more than doubled from a 30 to a 64. That's wild. So these are areas of life like those 5 life areas, and then add a couple on top of that, and you get like this huge shift. Okay. So, and we also look at your frequency score in those 5 life areas, and we see that she went up almost 100 points. So that's almost a full frequency level. And then we also track mental health symptoms. And so her mental health symptoms weren't huge, but look at how much they went down. I've seen these with clients who are in moderate severity and go down to mild, for example. And that's the kind of thing I really do want to publish some of these scales, because what's happening in our mental health field in general is that mental health practitioners are not really held to results. They're held to how long they sit with a client. That is the only thing that billing really looks at. So if a mental health practitioner is meeting with a client for 52 minutes, that's one billing code. If they meet with them for 53 minutes or more, that's another billing code. That is all they report to insurance. They don't report change. They don't report what they did with clients. It's really just time spent. And they could spend that whole time just doing talk therapy. Just like, tell me about your story. And that's not necessarily going to shift their lives, right? Especially if they get caught in their story. So I would love to see some real change and documented and, accountability for those changes. So that's one of the first things I want to get published. All right. Then let's also talk about what else comes with this, and that is the frequency formulas. So this is our epigenetic solutions in a bottle. And with the journey, you're going to get 4 formulas. So that could be the mood kit, or it could be personalized. So I want to share 2 other formulas with you real quick that might be the best for this journey. One is Transformula. So you can see transform is the main kind of word in there. The idea is that it is supporting freedom from anything that may be holding you back from making positive changes. So it helps with the sabotage patterns. It works with beliefs that might keep you from success, economically or personally. It supports changes with ingrained habits or beliefs, including generational patterns, fourth body, right? Works on feelings of competence, worthiness, intelligence, acceptance, and empowerment. And this, one of the things that I loved about this, and this just stuck with me, it realigns cellular structures to a time before disease existed. So if we look back at Tamara's DER, newborn baby, think about the light in a newborn baby. Like, they show up with this clean slate to some extent, with this sense of they have just been in the light and they are coming into this world. It releases addictive patterning as well. And so it's like it's restoring our highest selves in a lot of ways. And there's affirmations that go with those, but I just wanted to share this one as well as spine align. So when we're talking about resilience, our spine is like that tree trunk. So if you think about the word spineless, right? You've heard that before probably. So spineless is the lack of resilience. The spine align formula really strengthens in a way that's, beyond just the physical. And it can show up in physical ways. For example, during one of the times that I started Spine Align, I was dealing with a very codependent, unhealthy relationship pattern. Like I showed, kind of that was my lower frequency. And I wasn't standing up for myself or making myself a priority. And so while I was going through this, I was getting myself to a massage therapy session every month. When I'd meet with the massage therapist, she would have to adjust my legs because my pelvis was out of alignment. So like my trunk was crooked, okay? And so she would see that and she would adjust me, and it would last for a few weeks. And by the time I went back to her a month later, it had gone back to its old pattern. So Transformula was probably part of that too. But I was taking Spine Align at the time, and I went to a seminar from the founder of these formulas. And what was going on is my whole right side of my body was just tingling. It felt weird. And so I mentioned that to him, and he said, take it every hour. Your body's really trying to adjust. And so I did every hour for about 2 days. And then I went back to my massage therapist around this time, and I got on the table, and, this has been 8 months of this. And she's like, what'd you do? I don't have to adjust you. You're like, it held. And I'm like, oh, I think it was the Spine Align. And so I never had to have that adjusted again. It was amazing. And so that's part of the physical results of this, but there's also emotional. And so it's releasing anything. Let's see. It allows greater self-confidence and emotional posturing, supports a sense of being backed up and supported by others or a divine source. Tamara made a note in the comments when we were talking about this, that like God is backing you up. And I had that happen in an imagery session at one point. Like God was standing behind me with his hands on my shoulders. And it was just this amazing, like spiritual reinforcement. It helps with feelings of vulnerability. It provides a sense of empowerment and personal strength, facilitates decision-making. Think about how you might need your spine when you're choosing something and you've got to commit, right? And then it's got some health-related ones too. And so it will help with the spine, bone-related things, back pain, structural discomforts. So it does support realignment processes. And this is one of those things that I would love to see chiropractors be aware of. Like when they have someone come in, this could add to their results, and massage therapists, like I said. So, because it does enhance soft tissue work and muscle release through massage. So there's just a couple. And so of course, there's 16 formulas, but we want to make this available and accessible. And this is the best way we found to combine the formulas with 6 sessions of Zero Point Meridian, plus the full assessments. You're going to get like the Love Self method, and there's a bonus. So if you get this in the next week, we want to add Frequency School. So Frequency School is like a full training that comes with a manual. This manual is so deluxe. I still print them by hand because it's color inside. It parallels, and I don't know if you've thought of this before, but it parallels the 7 levels of of frequency evolution with the seven chakras. So it basically says there's not a bad frequency. It's just what are you doing in that area, like your ability to ground and find your power, and all the way up to your source connection. And so that's included. It's only $977. It's worth about $1,600 for this full program. It is very individualized. It is very rich and full of bonuses, and it's been very successful. Okay, so I want to make sure you're aware of that. And then let's see if I got everything on here. Okay, there is a link if you want to find ZPM Pro. And I think that's my last slide. Any questions? We're going to do like a 7-minute break. So if you have some, feel free to put them in the chat. If not, get your 7-minute break. We're going to come back about 5 after the hour to finish up. So thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Andrea.
Before you go, Thaddeus made a really great statement at the end of the 0 Point Meridian. He said, pray for your past self and for your future self to guide your present self to go closer to God, and watch how the perception of time changes 100%.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's amazing.
Great idea, Thaddeus. I love that. Thank you.
That's powerful. So good. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. And while we're shifting into the next one, I don't want to do much of a break here, but I want to just keep the momentum going. But let's get up and move. Okay. So I want to see everybody get up and move, and just consider like the power of our bodies and that resilience we have. Whether you want to wave or sway or do a hip circle, if you know about hip circles, that's really good for the second chakra, right? We can also get grounded with our feet and just really, tap out your feet. Oh, I like Tamara's putting your hands together. You can rub your hands together so you get that energy flow, and then just tapping your feet to connect to the earth. You can shake your legs, and then just find the stillness next. Just get to that stillness as you stand tall. And I like that hands together. And imagine, I think if you know mountain pose in yoga, it's like you are the mountain, feeling your elevation in, with the crown of your head being lifted. Deep breath in, absorb all that good energy. And then big exhale as you shake out anything that's getting dislodged and released. Whew. Exhale it. Nice. Thank you. I see some people joined me in that little refresher